In this video, we will talk about writing. When I say writing, this is not a video on writing per se, because you probably had mastered writing in kindergarten itself. This is more about storytelling. Now, I can imagine at least one person listening to this and saying, this guy has smoked up something, because how else is storytelling related to an interview? You can watch the previous videos in the series for the answer, but yes, storytelling, I believe, is a very useful tool that you can easily master, and it helps while introducing yourself or communicating with others. But for this video, let's just stick with its use in cover letters, SOPs, and admissions. There are two basic types of writing pieces that you would write for admissions. One is your profile or your motivation to pursue a course, which you would use for your admissions to master's programs. And the other is like an essay, which may be used for MBA admissions. We will talk about the latter as the former has been covered in the earlier videos. This is the point where you go to the first video in the series and start watching if you haven't already done so. If you have, then let's get started. Imagine you're given a topic to write about which says, what if Shakespeare married Indira Gandhi? This happened for an interview at my alma mater NIFT, where for the first minute, everyone was silent. If you were stuck in a situation, what would you do? Confusing? Okay, so let's take a step back. At my school, in the English exam, an essay was for 20 marks. With no clue on how to write one, I was prepared to just blurt out what I had thought about the topic. But then I found an old copy of Wren and Martin at home, which had a section on story writing and essay writing. I think that is by far the most important learning that I've had on this topic. It has a sample essay on the elephant, which explains a lot about writing. So let's take that as an example. If you have to write an essay about an elephant, the first thing that you do is write down all the things that you can think of about elephants. It's a large animal. It is used in hunting, temples, kings, for carrying logs. There are two types of elephants, the Asian and the African. They are captured and kept in zoos now. There are a lot of references to elephants in Indian culture, like stories, mythology. The intelligence of elephants is very famous. Then there is ivory usage, poaching, and also elephants sometimes go mad. Now there are a lot of points here. With some of the points noted, we can group them as description of elephants, uses to mankind, their place in culture, and current situation. So the types and size and intelligence can go under description. Different uses can be grouped, and then all the stories and cultural references form another group. And there is one final group about ivory poaching, zoos, and the future. These groups form paragraphs or key ideas. If you have a few paragraphs, you put them in a logical sequence for your write-up. Simple? Not exactly. Writing a paragraph seems simple, but if you have to write an essay or tell a story, you need to stitch it together in a smooth and logical storyline. What we have here is a good body of the essay section, like my teacher would call it. This is the skeleton, which we now need to fill up and complete. But before that, we need two things, an introduction and a conclusion. If you remember all stories from childhood, they started with Once Upon a Time, which is a powerful hook for narrating stories to kids. This gets them interested. Famous and interesting quotes are equivalent of this once upon a time phrase. You can start with a good quote or anecdote and you're good to go. Similar is the conclusion part, where after talking about the elephant in detail, we end on some note. It can be a summary or a logical end to the argument, or even a final word after weighing in on different aspects depending upon the topic. So this is the completion of a fine lecture on essay writing, relevant for the students of class 8. But how is this important for people seeking out jobs or for admissions? Well, the basics of storytelling or writing a good essay or story remain pretty much the same. Let's go back to the topic I had mentioned earlier. What if Shakespeare had married Indira Gandhi? If you had to write on this topic or talk about it, one way to structure your argument would be to talk about the nature of these personalities. One a master of drama and another an iron-fisted politician. Both of them would borrow ideas from each other. They would share common styles. Shakespeare could have written a lot about India's freedom movement, or maybe Indira Gandhi could have had some pretty interesting slogan instead of the standard Garibi Hatao one. These are just a few ideas. Maybe you could try writing on this topic as an exercise. If you try doing so, you will quickly realize one very important thing, that the biggest difficulty that you may face in essay writing is the lack of matter. It is possible that you may not easily find anything to say about a subject. This is natural if your experience and general reading are limited, but this can easily be resolved by reading and observing things around you. We will talk about quality sources for consumption of information separately, maybe in another video, but the bottom line is read well to write well. Tolstoy once wrote, "A man is like a fraction whose numerator is what he is and whose denominator is what he thinks of himself. The larger the denominator, the smaller the fraction." You see how Tolstoy used this simple analogy to describe ego in a manner that even a high school student would understand. That is, if he doesn't hate mathematics. Using a personal experience or using analogies are some of the best ways to improve your writing with minimal effort. To sum up, an essay must be a unity, treating in an orderly manner one subject or key idea. It should be concisely written and not too long, and the style should be simple, direct, and clear. 3 features are necessary in a good write-up: a suitable subject matter, proper arrangement, and adequate power of expression. So that's it for now. If you find any of this useful, do let me know. Thank you.